Behind the grand spectacle of sumo, the roaring crowd, the powerful rikishi, and the ancient rituals lies a legacy shaped by leadership. At the helm of the Japan Sumo Association, the Richijo have navigated the sport through eras of triumph, challenge, and transformation. But who are these men behind the curtains, and how have they influenced Japan's national treasure? Welcome back to the Sumo Flashback channel. In this video, we dive into the interesting history of the former chairman of the Japan Sumo Association, their leadership, controversies, and their contributions that molded sumo wrestling into what it is today. Stay tuned as we uncover the untold stories of these powerful figures, nicknamed Men in Black. Hit that subscribe button and also don't forget to like. Let's begin. Hirose Masanori, a lieutenant general known for his sharp intellect and disciplined leadership, was the first to take the helm of the Japan Sumo Association in 1925. I couldn't find any picture of him anywhere, so I will go with this. This is a video of him giving the trophy to the winner of that tournament. At a time when sumo was more tradition than institution, Hirose brought a sense of order and authority that the sport desperately needed. With his background as the overseer of Japan's military budget, he approached sumo governance with the precision of battlefield strategy, shaping the foundation of modern sumo administration. But Hirose's tenure wasn't without its challenges. During his leadership, the sport faced one of its major crises, the Shanjun incident. Wrestlers fed up with the poor living conditions and inequalities staged a strike that shook the association to its core. Hirose stepped in like a true mediator, resolving the conflict and ensuring that sumo emerged not only intact, but even stronger. It was a defining moment that showed his ability to balance tradition with reform. As his term came to a close, Hirose began passing the torch to General Uno, but continued to serve the association as a board director until his death in 1938. Hirose's name stands above the rest, remembered as a man who turned sumo from a cultural pastime into a well-organized institution. His legacy is one of discipline and dedication, setting the stage for generations of leaderships to come. Fuka Masaro, another esteemed military figure, stepped into the roles of acting chairman of the Japan Sumo Association from 1928 to 1930, following the tenure of Hirose. Like Hirose, Fukuda brought with him the discipline and structure of a military career, as both men had shared responsibility in managing the association from its inception. Though Hirose is officially recognized as the association's first chairman, Fukuda's contributions were pivotal during a transitional period that shaped the association's early identity. Fukuda's appointment as director of the association alongside Hirose is a reflection of common practice of the time, appointing military officers, retired politicians, or high-ranked bureaucrats to cultural institutions. These figures were seen as patrons of the martial arts. While Fukuda's position as chairman is often considered unofficial, his influence was no less significant. During his tenure, Fukuda worked to solidify the association's operations, ensuring the administrative framework laid by Hirose continued to evolve. His leadership came at a time when sumo was beginning to establish itself as a formal institution, and his disciplined oversight played a key role in maintaining stability. After Hirose and Fukuda helped stabilize the Japan Sumo Association, it was time for a leader who could bring the sport both reverence and resilience as it entered a new era. ENT Uno Minobu, who served as the acting chairman from 1930 to 1939. Uno's tenure wasn't just about overseeing matches and managing wrestlers. It was about ensuring sumo's roots were deeply embedded in the cultural soil. Even as the world around it began to change, Uno's leadership came at a time when sumo like much of Japan, was facing both modern challenges and the pressure to preserve its ancient traditions. Uno recognized the importance of honoring the past, and he left his mark on the sport in a way few others could claim. One of his most notable contributions was his involvement in the creation of the Chikarazuka, a memorable monument at the Ekoin Temple dedicated to great sumo wrestlers who had passed on. Uno's name at the back of the monument served as a lasting tribute to those who helped shape the sport he so deeply cherished. But Uno's work wasn't just about memorizing the greats of sumo. It was also about strengthening its place in the modern world in an era where Japan was undergoing profound societal changes. His efforts ensured that sumo remained a symbol of strength, discipline, and cultural pride, standing firm in the face of a rapidly growing landscape. Following the steady hands of Uno, Japan's sumo world found itself caught in the time of monumental change. Enters Tesa Isamu, a man whose extraordinary career spanned from military, diplomatic, and martial arts in Aikido circles. As a former admiral in the Imperial Japanese Navy, Takeshita had been at the forefront of some of Japan's most pivotal moments, from securing victory in the Russo-Japanese War to navigating the post-World War I international landscape. By the time he became chairman of the Japan Sumo Association in 1939, Japan was at the edge of profound transformation. This is a newspaper article about his appointment as chairman. Takeshita said this to the newspaper: "I will take every opportunity to say that in order to improve the physical condition of Japanese men, given the recent marked change and decline in their physical condition, we must make young men and boys take up sumo. Many issues that need to be seriously considered and reformed in the Japan Sumo Association." Takeshita's leadership at the time when Japan was slowly heading into new democratic era. The winds of change were sweeping through the nation, and the sumo world was not immune. As the 10-day autumn wrestling tournament of 1945 came to a close, a surprising and symbolic gesture took place. The directors and auditors of the association, sensing the changing tides, handed in their resignation. The reason: they believed that sumo, much like the rest of Japan, needed new men to lead it into the new era, men who could guide the sport through the challenges of modernization. This wave of democratization seen across the country was calling for fresh leadership to take the helm of the Japan Sumo Association and steer it into the post-war world. In the midst of this shifting landscape, Takeshita was thrown into the role of chairman, tasked with navigating the delicate balance between honoring sumo's deeply rooted traditions and embracing the inevitable changes that laid ahead. The conservative elements within sumo, those who revered its age-old custom, disagree at the very thought of reform. For them, sumo was a sport of tradition, and the idea of democracy felt like a threat to its soul. But Takeshita, a man accustomed to steering Japan through international crises, rose to the occasion. He understood that the future of sumo depends on its ability to evolve, just as Japan itself was evolving. Under Takeshita's guidance, the Japan Sumo Association began its slow march towards modernization. His leadership during this period of transition was pivotal. While the old guard resisted, Takeshita's patience allowed the association to weather the storm of change. By the time he stepped down in 1945, the sumo world would have been altered, its future shaped by the very new men who had come forward to lead it. Takeshita's legacy remains a powerful reminder of the challenges faced by institutions in time of national transformation. His time at the helm was marked not only by his own ability to navigate political waters, but also by his capability to push sumo into a new era where change was not an enemy, but a necessary force for survival. In the aftermath of Takeshita's transformative leadership, sumo needed a new kind of leader, one who could understand the sport not just from the outside, but from the inside. Enters Fujishima Hidemitsu, also known as the Tanomi Hidemitsu, who made history as the first chairman of the Japan Sumo Association to come from the ranks of wrestlers themselves, serving as the chairman from 1945 to 1957. Fujishima represented a new era for the sport, one where wrestlers themselves could guide sumo through the complexities of post-war Japan. He was the 31st Yokozuna with the Shikona Tsunenohana. He won 10 championships during his wrestling days. Fujishima's most notable contribution came in the form of the Kuramai Kokugikan, the sumo war that became a symbol of Japan's post-war recovery and the survival of sumo as both a sport and a cultural institution. This monumental achievement helped secure sumo's place in the public eye and allowed the sport to thrive in a new modern era. But Fujishima's role went far beyond architectural feats. As a chairman, he found himself at the helm during a period of great internal strife within the association. On March 2, 1957, during a session of the House of Representative Budget Committee, the Japan Sumo Association status as a public interest corporation came under scrutiny, calling for reform. Fujishima was an expert witness of the House of Representative Education Committee on April 3rd, but he was absent citing medical treatment. This series of discussions intensified pressure on him to reform the association swiftly. However, due to his anxiety and deep sense of responsibility, Fujishima attempted ritual suicide on May 4th by filling the control room of the Kuramai Kokugikan with gas and attempting ritual suicide, slashing his stomach and neck with a knife. He survived because he was discovered in time, but the Japan Sumo Association took his attempted suicide seriously. As a result, Fujishima resigned as chairman, and despite this, Fujishima remained influential within the association, focusing on training wrestlers in his stable. He passed away suddenly on the November 28, 1960, a day after the final day of the Kyushu tournament, from complications related to stomach ulcer. Following the tenure of Fujishima, Tokas Sadji took the helm of the Japan Sumo Association in May 1957 after serving as acting chairman since January. He was the great Yokozuna Futabayama. He went unbeaten in 69 matches, a record unbroken even today. I have created a video on his 69 matches unbeaten streak. If you haven't watched that video yet, please do. Toka's leadership came at a crucial tenure for sumo, as the sport was experiencing a resurgence in popularity, but also grappling with increasing public criticisms. Even the Japanese public had begun to take note, sparkling discussions about the need for reform. He wasted no time implementing a series of bold and radical reforms to modernize the association. He introduced a mandatory retirement age of 69 for senior members and coaches, including referees, aiming to refresh the leadership and allow for a new generation to rise through the ranks. He also introduced a round-robin system for sumo stables, which brought a greater level of organization and fairness to the way tournaments were organized. Additionally, he reorganized and incorporated sumo tea houses, further streamlining the business side of the sport. These changes were controversial, but he was determined to push the sport forward and ensure its survival in the changing times. His effort did not go unnoticed, and in 1962 he became the first person in the sumo world to receive the prestigious Purple Ribbon, a recognition of his contribution to Japanese culture. Despite his success, his health began to decline in his latter years. His condition put an end to any plans for a long tenure as chairman. He had even been expected to perform a ring entry ceremony to celebrate his 60th birthday, a symbolic and highly respected ritual in sumo, but his failing health prevented this from happening. In 1968, he passed away from complications related to hepatitis, marking the end of an era for the Japan Sumo Association. His tenure had been marked by significant changes that reshaped sumo for years to come, making him a pivotal figure in the sport's post-war recovery. Though his life was cut short, his legacy as a reformer within the sumo world remains cemented in future. Following the death of Tokas in December 1968, Masashi Shawa assumed the chairmanship of the Japan Sumo Association at a pivotal moment in the sport's history from 1968 to 1974. Iwano Hana, a former Maegashira one at his peak. After his retirement, he took over the Tanomi stable and became the chairman after Futabayama's death. Masashi Shawa's tenure was marked by tireless effort to modernize sumo, bringing the sport into an era of technology and educational reform, while still honoring its rich traditions. One of Masashi Shawa's key initiatives was the introduction of video footage for judging sumo matches, a groundbreaking move that began during the May 1969 tournament. His innovation provided referees with a valuable tool to ensure fairness and accuracy in officiating, a far cry from the days when decisions were solely based on the naked eye. Another major achievement under his leadership was the renovation of the Kuramai Kokugikan Sumo Hall in 1971, which helped solidify sumo's presence as a prestigious and modern sport in Japan. Masashi Shawa also tackled the issue of education head-on in response to concerns raised by the Ministry of Education about junior high students skipping school to enter sumo. He introduced a strict policy in January 1972, banning wrestlers from entering the sumo world before graduating from junior high school. He made the completion compulsory and top priority, ensuring young wrestlers had a solid educational background before committing to their sumo careers. During his time as chairman, sumo saw a number of major developments inside and outside the ring. The sport bid farewell to one of its greatest stars, Yokozuna Taiho, who retired, and while other legends such as Tanomi and Kitano Fuji were promoted to Yokozuna. The sport also saw the rise of new stars like Wajima and Kitanomi. 1972 also marked a historic moment as Takamiyama, a foreign-born wrestler from Hawaii, claimed victory in the top division, marking a breakthrough for international participation in sumo. International expansion was another hallmark of Masashi Shawa's tenure. In 1973, following the restoration of diplomatic relations with China, the Japan Sumo Association made its first ever tour to the People's Republic of China, visiting Beijing and Shanghai. This was part of a broader effort to internationalize sumo and increase its global appeal, paving the way for future international tours and exhibitions. By 1974, Masashi Shawa felt it was time to pass on the torch. He handed over the chairmanship to Kasugano, remaining an advisor until his official retirement in January 1976. After retiring, Masashi Shawa took on the role of director of the Sumo Museum, further cementing his deep involvement in preserving sumo's cultural legacy. Masashi Shawa's health eventually began to decline, and he passed away on May 30th, 1987, at the age of 78. His contribution to sumo was honored by the Japan Sumo Association, which held a funeral for him on June 2nd, 1987. Most notably, Masashi Shawa remained the only former wrestler in the modern era to ascend to the chairmanship without ever reaching the prestigious ranks of Ozeki or Yokozuna. His rise to the top as chairman was a testament to his leadership abilities and vision for the future of sumo. His legacy continued to shape the sport to this day. After the transformative leadership of Masashi Shawa, the Japan Sumo Association found itself at a crossroads. Enters Kasugano Oyakata, a legendary wrestler who had already established his mark as the 44th Yokozuna. He assumed the role of chairmanship and embarked on a 14-year journey that would not only cement his place in sumo history but also guide the sport into a new era. Unlike many of his predecessors, Kasugano wasn't just a leader in name, he was a hand-on visionary. When he stepped into the role of chairmanship, sumo was poised to gain its national popularity, but it also needed to adapt to the changing world. Critics were calling for change, and the sport's once traditional foundations were being scrutinized for their reluctance to modernize. Kasugano, having experienced sumo from every single angle, as a wrestler, coach, and now administrator, was the perfect person to steer the association through its turbulent times. One of his most significant legacies is the construction of the Ryogoku Kokugikan, which opened in 1985. At a time when building such a monumental arena seemed like a daunting task, Kasugano rose to the challenge. His leadership ensured the project was completed without debt, an achievement that remained a testament to his financial ability. The Ryogoku Kokugikan today is not just a venue, it is a symbol of sumo's enduring strength and tradition. But Kasugano's work didn't stop at infrastructure. Recognizing that sumo needed to evolve with the times, he pushed for improvements in spectators' experience, ensuring that the thousands of fans attending tournaments could do so in comfort. He also overwhelmed the sumo tea houses, modernizing it in a way that balanced traditional custom with the changing demands of the modern world. Kasugano's commitment to sumo future extended to its people as well. He recognized the importance of nurturing the next generation of sumo leaders and appointed former wrestlers like Thei to pivotal positions within the association. Their rise to leadership positions ensured sumo would continue to thrive long after Kasugano's time. During his tenure, stars like Chono Fuji emerged, and the popularity of sumo began to swell in 1980s and 1990s. His vision for sumo's modernization helped elevate the sport, ensuring it remained relevant in the fast-changing world. Even as his health began to decline due to diabetes, Kasugano never wavered in his commitment to the sport. He performed his 60th birthday Yokozuna ring entrance ceremony. In the years that followed, Kasugano's health worsened after retiring from his role as chairman. At the end of the January 1988 tournament, he became an advisor to the Sumo Association. Just before the start of the November 1989 tournament, Kasugano collapsed and was rushed to the hospital. He collapsed once more while trying to wash his face. On January 10, 1990, Kasugano passed away. He was just 64 years old. His death marked the end of an era in sumo, and the sport lost one of the greatest leaders. Despite his passing, his legacy lives on in the Ryogokugikan Arena, standing as a monument to his efforts and his vision for sumo's future. Following the great leadership of Kasugano, Futagoyama Kanji stepped in the role of chairman of the Japan Sumo Association in 1988, marking a significant shift in the sport's leadership. He was a former Yokozuna with a legendary career in the ring named Wakanohana, who won 10 tournaments in his prime. Futagoyama brought both tradition and innovation to the table. Futagoyama's ascent to the leadership was groundbreaking for multiple reasons. Coming from the Nishonoseki school, known for its permanent opposition stance against the dominant Tanomi school, his rise was seen as a shift in the established balance of power. However, by the time he took office, he had proven himself as a respected and capable leader within sumo, having built a stable into one of the most successful stables in Japan. He would go on to produce several secretaries, including Yokozuna and Thei Ozeki, cementing his place in sumo's history. His leadership was recognized and appreciated by those in the Dewa Nomi stable, including Kasugano, who admired his efforts in developing the stable system. It was in part as a mark of gratitude for his contributions that Kasugano handed over the chairmanship to him. This was also seen as a move to strengthen the foundation of the Dewa Nomi system in the future. After taking over as chairman, he wasted no time in setting his own course. One of his most memorable actions was performing his 60th ring entrance ceremony at the new Ryogoku-gikan, surrounded by his most accomplished disciples. In terms of reform, he continued the modernization efforts set forth by his predecessors. His notable reform was aimed at improving the quality of sumo matches, particularly the tachiai, the initial charge between wrestlers. In 1991, he introduced fines or fees for wrestlers who committed mata or false starts as a means to encourage fair and precise action. Though this penalty was later abolished, it was a clear indication of his attention to details and his desire to reform the sport's presentation. In 1991, under his leadership, sumo held a sumo exhibition tournament at the Royal Albert Hall in London, United Kingdom, from 9th to 13th October in 1991. It went on to make sumo very popular across Europe and America. His reign also witnessed the rise of new stars within sumo. Perhaps most notably, in the final tournament as chairman, he presented the Emperor's Cup to his nephew Taka Hanara, who became the youngest ever winner of the top division tournament. This moment was a fitting end to his leadership, as it marked the passing of the torch to the next generation of sumo wrestlers. After stepping down from his position as chairman in 1992, he continued to serve the sumo community as director of the Sumo Museum. He retired in 1993. Suddenly, he passed away in September 2010 at the age of 82 after battling with kidney cancer. His death marked the loss of one of sumo's most loved figures, but his legacy continues to live on through the wrestlers he trained, the reforms he championed, and the cultural contributions he made to the sport. Following Futagoyama's reign, Sakaigawa took the helm of the Japan Sumo Association in 1992 to 1998, with a background as a former Yokozuna Sadanoyama and a head coach of the highly respected Dewa Nomi stable. In his early years as chairman, Dewa Nomi aimed to modernize sumo whilst maintaining the traditions that had kept it alive for centuries. One of the first major steps was introducing restrictions on foreign wrestlers. In 1992, he set a cap on the number of foreign rikishi, limiting the total to 40 across all divisions, and imposing a maximum of 2 foreign wrestlers per stable to protect the domestic sumo structure. Was met with mixed reactions and became a point in the growing debate about the future of the sport in an increasing globalized world. He was also instrumental in setting clear standards for Makushita division and introducing an age limit for new recruits, aiming to ensure that sumo wrestlers enter the sport at an appropriate stage in their life. This policy shift was in part a response to concerns about the growing number of older recruits, which many believed affected the physical well-being of wrestlers. But his leadership was far from smooth sailing. Perhaps his most ambitious initiative was his attempt to overhaul the system of elder names within the association. In 1996, he proposed a reform that would return the elder name to the Sumo Association and restrict their sale and purchase. These names, integral to the structure of sumo, were a significant source of wealth to many of the sports. The proposal was a direct challenge to the entrenched interest of senior figures within the association, many of whom had heavily invested in buying and selling elder shares. The reform sparked fierce resistance, with critics accusing him of attempting to undermine the financial livelihood of some of the most powerful figures in sumo. This growing opposition, especially from the anti-mainstream faction, further fractured the unity of the Japan Sumo Association. The election marked a turning point in his tenure, as it became increasingly clear that his reform agenda lacked the necessary support to move forward. By 1998, he made his decision to step down from his position as chairman, resigning in the face of mounting opposition. The reform plans had failed, and the internal dynamics of the association had shifted too far against him. Despite stepping down from the chairmanship, he remained an influential figure within the sumo world. He stayed on as a director and continued to serve in crucial roles, including heading the sumo training school. It was highly unusual for a former chairman to return to such operational positions, but he continued, and that was a testament to his deep-rooted commitment to the sport. In 2010, after the passing of his fellow former yokozuna, Wakanohana, he became the oldest surviving yokozuna until his death in 2017 at the age of 79. His time as chairman may have been filled with controversies, but was also a period of profound change for the Japan Sumo Association. His attempts at reform and modernization were pivotal in the sport's evolution. Even if they weren't always successful, his legacy is a reminder of the challenges faced by leaders in navigating the fine balance between tradition and progress in one of Japan's oldest and most revered institutions. The year 1998 marked the arrival of Tokas as the chairman of the Japan Sumo Association. He was the former Yutakayama. Before assuming the top position, Tokas made history by becoming the youngest ever director of the Japan Sumo Association at just 32 years, and he remained a prominent figure in sumo leadership, steadily gaining influence. But it was his election as chairman at the age of 60 that truly cemented his place in sumo history. Tokas was the first Ozeki to hold the position and the first to do so with a university degree, breaking the record of past sumo chairmen who had just come from more traditional backgrounds. During his 4-year term as chairman, Tokas found himself in the midst of a crucial period for sumo, as the sport grappled internally and a lack of clarity in the elder name system. His predecessor had left behind a chaotic legacy of confusion over how elder names were passed down and how they could be bought or sold. Tokas' leadership sought to make the system more transparent and flexible. One of his key reforms allowed former Ozeki wrestlers to take elder names, and he implemented strict measures to prevent multiple ownership and lending of these prestigious names. Tokas was also deeply invested in the future of sumo. He introduced stricter standards for the Makushita division in the year 2000, aiming to improve the talent pool in the sport. In 2002, as his tenure neared its end, Tokas moved to strengthen foreign wrestler regulations, responding to the ongoing debate over how much the sport should open its doors to international members. Tokas' term also saw the appointment of a screenwriter and a novelist to the Yokozuna Deliberation Council in the year 2000. She became the first female to ever serve on the council. a historic move that opened the door of greater diversity in the sumo leadership. Tokas delivered a deep personal and heartfelt speech at the final day of the January 2002 tournament. He opted not to deliver a formal letter of thanks, instead speaking directly to the sumo community, expressing his gratitude in his own words. It was a fitting farewell for a man who had served sumo with great dedication. After his term, he retired to advisory position, but continued to contribute to sumo's legacy behind the scenes. In the years following his retirement, he remained a guiding figure in sumo, especially when it came to issues of stable succession. In 2007, following a tragedy at his former stable with the death of a wrestler, he played a pivotal role in selecting a successor. In 2020, he made headlines again when Shodai was in the running for a championship at the September tournament, praying for his victory. When Shodai won and was promoted to Ozeki, he was there to witness the historic moment, a testament to his enduring presence in the sumo world. Celebrating his 84th birthday in 2021, Tokas at the time held the distinction of being the oldest living wrestler who had reached the rank of Ozeki or higher. As of the beginning of 2025, at the age of 87, he still holds the record, showcasing his remarkable longevity in the sport. His legacy is one of reform, leadership, and lasting influence. His tenure as chairman may have been marked by both success and challenges, but his contributions to sumo are undeniable. He helped modernize sumo, elevate its traditions, and ensure that its future would remain rooted in both respect for the past and adaptivity for the future. In 2002, Tanomi was one of the most iconic figures to assume the role of the Japan Sumo Association Chairman. He was the first chairman in half a century to take on the position at such a young age, entering the role before turning 50. This marked a new era for the association, and Kitanomi's appointment was widely celebrated due to his immense legacy as a yokozuna and his undeniable impact on the sport. As one of sumo's greatest champions, Tanomi's career was defined by his record-setting achievements. He became yokozuna at the age of 21, the youngest ever to achieve sumo's top rank, and amassed an immense 24 tournament championship. But it was his leadership within the Japan Sumo Association that would define the next phase for his career. In his first term as chairman, Tanomi implemented several reforms. One notable change was the revival of the lending and borrowing of elder names. Under his leadership, Tanomi also reintroduced the association-sponsored tournaments after the previous administration shift towards independent performance tours. He worked to enhance the fans' experience by strengthening the planning department and improving the quality of sumo ring. Lastly, he performed overseas tournaments, including in South Korea and China, with the aim of increasing sumo's popularity across Asia. However, despite these strives, Tanomi's term as chairman was not without controversies. In 2007, sumo faced several scandals. The most tragic one of them was the death of a junior wrestler from the Tokas stable. This incident, which came after the wrestler had been severely beaten by his stable mates, led to a significant investigation. Tanomi and the association were questioned by the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports and Science and Technology regarding the incident and possible cover-ups. Tanomi acknowledged the association's shortcomings and apologized on behalf of the organization, and worked to prevent such tragedies in the future by establishing the Recurrence Prevention Review Committee. Furthermore, as Ashoryu, the dominant yokozuna at the time, found himself in controversies after some altercations. On July 30th, 2007, Ashoryu, alongside his master, had personally explained and apologized to Tanomi for his actions. However, the damage was already done. The incident was widely reported. Adding to the problems was the marijuana use scandal that rocked the sumo world in 2007, when several top wrestlers, including one wrestler from his own stable, were caught using marijuana. This incident only added to the pressure Tanomi faced, and in September 2008, with these scandals continuing to unfold, Tanomi resigned his position as chairman and publicly apologized for all the problems that the association has caused to its fans. Despite resigning from the chairman role, Tanomi remained involved in sumo as a director, continuing to oversee various tournaments. Following these happenings, Musashigawa served as chairman of the Japan Sumo Association from 2008 to 2010. He took over the role during a time of great instability within the sumo world, which could come to define his brief tenure as chairman. His initial action as chairman was marked by an attempt to bring more structure and discipline to the sport. One of his early moves was a controversial decision to tighten the rules of the tachiai, the initial charge in the sumo ring. His rule changes led to a number of false starts during the September 2008 tournaments, causing confusion among fans and wrestlers alike. Despite the controversies, this move indicated his desire to impose a stricter standards of discipline in sumo. However, Musashigawa's leadership quickly became overshadowed by a series of high-profile scandals, including gambling and association with organized crime. In 2010, the baseball scandal rocked the sumo world. It was revealed that several sumo wrestlers, including Musashigawa's apprentice, were involved in illegal gambling activities. The scandal prompted an investigation by the Special Investigation Committee, which recommended suspending Musashigawa. Yooshi Murayama was appointed as acting chairman during Musashigawa's suspension. Musashigawa's connection to the scandal, coupled with the growing concerns surrounding the integrity of the sport, led to mounting pressure on him to step down. It was reported that Musashigawa had been hospitalized due to high blood pressure, and after undergoing surgery for stomach cancer, the ongoing scandals combined with his health issues led to his eventual step down in August 2010. Musashigawa's tenure was short-lived, but it was significant as it marked a period of reckoning for the sumo world, as the scandals during his time as chairman revealed deep-rooted issues within the sport that needed addressing. While Musashigawa's time as chairman was marked by scandal and ultimately cut short by his health struggles, his legacy remained tied to the rise of his stable, one of the strongest in sumo history. His stable produced several prominent wrestlers, including Musashi Maru, a yokozuna, and Dejima, and Musoyama, and Miyabiyama, all Ozeki. With the death of the 52nd yokozuna, Kitano Fuji, he is now the oldest living former yokozuna. Amidst the chaos of scandals and leadership vacuum, Yooshi Murayama, a former chief prosecutor, stepped into the role of acting chairman of the Japan Sumo Association in 2010. This marked a pivotal moment as Murayama became the first non-professional sumo wrestler to hold the top position in over 66 years, a significant break from tradition since Tesa Isamu. Murayama, who had retired from his position as chief prosecutor of the Tokyo High Public Prosecutor's Office in 2000, was no stranger to dealing with high-stake issues. In 2008, he had been appointed as an external director, and by 2010, he was deeply involved in the investigation efforts surrounding the baseball gambling incident. His appointment as acting chairman came in the wake of Musashigawa's suspension. His initial appointment was stated to last for 22 days until the end of Nagoya tournament, but due to Musashigawa's health issues and the ongoing controversies, Murayama's tenure was extended. He remained as acting chairman even after the tournament ended, continuing to steer the association until Musashigawa officially resigned on August 12, 2010, and so did Murayama, paving the way for the next chairman. Murayama's role in the crisis was crucial, but ultimately his involvement was short-lived. He further stepped down as an external director of the Japan Sumo Association on January 31, 2012, marking the end of his brief chairmanship. Murayama's time as acting chairman was a dramatic example of the Sumo Association's struggle to retain stability during one of its most scandalous era, underscoring how even a figure of his status could not fully navigate the complex web of issues facing the sport at the time. Hanara, also known as Kaiketsu, served as the next chairman of the Japan Sumo Association from August 12, 2010 to 2012. Known for his integrity and reputation as a clean ozeki during his sumo career, he was appointed to the top position in the association. As a chairman, Hanara faced various challenges, including the match-fixing scandal in February 2010, which rocked the sumo world. This scandal was so severe that it led to the cancellation of the Osaka tournament in March 2011. The following tournament in May was held under unusual circumstances, such as scale evaluation with free admission and no NHK broadcasting. In addition to the scandal, Hanara faced mounting pressure from reform efforts and the complex dynamics within the Sumo Association. His proposed reform to transition the association to public interest cooperation, including buying elder names and including more outsiders to the board, met resistance from the elders, who remained attached to the traditional ways of doing things. Despite his best efforts, including long hours navigating the crisis with his poor eyesight due to diabetes, Hanara found the burden too heavy. Despite his struggles, he persisted in paving way for reforms and was praised for his sacrifice and dedication to the sport. His term, though short, 1 year and 5 months, earned him recognition as the leader who had steered sumo through its most challenging period. However, as Hanara reached the retirement age of 65 in 2012, and with the weight of ongoing scandals and reforms, he announced his retirement as chairman. He retired completely from the sumo world in 2013, refusing public commentary or offers to appear on NHK broadcasts, choosing to step away from the sport entirely. His legacy as a chairman was described as that of a man who saved sumo wrestling from its most dire crisis, though at a great personal cost. Hanara passed away on May 18, 2014 at the age of 66 from a heart disease just months after his retirement. His death marked the end of an era for sumo, and his contributions during the sport's darkest times continuing to be remembered and honored. Tanomi became the chairman of the Japan Sumo Association for the second time in 2012, making history as the first chairman to hold the position twice. He was re-elected to the role following Hanara-gome's step down. During his second tenure, Tanomi marked his 60th birthday in 2013 with a ring entrance ceremony at the Ryogokukan Sumo Hall. Notably, Chonofuji and Takanohana, two legendary yokozuna, participated in the ceremony. However, it was revealed that Tanomi had been battling cancer around the same time, a condition that he kept private, further highlighting his dedication to the sport. Tanomi oversaw significant reforms to the Japan Sumo Association, particularly during the transition to a public interest corporation. On January 31, 2014, in the first election of directors following the transition, it was decided by mutual vote that Tanomi would continue in the role as chairman. This made him the first chairman of the newly established corporation. Under his leadership, the framework for the new corporation was created. Key reforms included a set of number of board members, which would range between 10 and 15, not much different from the previous system. Additionally, stable masters who planned to retire were now required to recommend a successor to the Elder Succession Qualification Examination Committee within 5 years. The previous head of the stable was also permitted to receive consultation fees for the succession. Despite his health struggles, Tanomi continued his duty. In July 2015, he was hospitalized and underwent surgery, but remained unwell. He missed several events, including the opening and closing day address during the September 2015 tournament, and on November 20th, he passed away at 62 from multiple organ failure, marking him as the second sitting chairman of the Japan Sumo Association to die whilst in office. His death during a tournament was a historic first for sumo, and his legacy as a leader during challenging times is remembered for his steadfast commitment to the sport. After the death of Tanomi in November 2015, Haku was appointed acting chairman, a position he held until the end of March 2016. Before becoming chairman, Haku had a successful career as a sumo wrestler, reaching the rank of yokozuna and winning 8 top division championships. He later opened the Haku stable, which produced several top division wrestlers, including Okinomi and Hokutofuji. Drawing on his extensive experience, including his role as general manager of the public relations and business department, he spearheaded numerous reforms during his tenure. In a contested election on March 28, 2016, he defeated Takanohana and was officially confirmed as chairman for 2-year terms. His leadership was reaffirmed with a re-election in 2018, 2020, and 2022, reflecting his steady influence and commitment to the sumo community. One of his notable incentives was the creation of the Social Contribution Department in January 2017, which aimed to support regions affected by natural disasters. He also introduced donation boxes at sumo events, such as the Nagoya Basho in July 2017, to assist with relief efforts following huge rains in northern Kyushu. In 2023, to celebrate his 60th birthday, Haku performed a Doyo Iri at the Ryogogikan on September 2nd. This event was significant, marking 30 years since the founding of the Haku stable. Haku's tenure has been marked by a blend of tradition and reform, with a focus on both sumo's cultural heritage and its future development. Notably, he is making preparations for a Grand Sumo tournament that will take place at the Royal Albert Hall in London, UK, from Wednesday, October 15th to Sunday, October 19th, 2025, which he was the winner in 1991 as an active wrestler. The aim is to further increase the popularity of sumo in Europe and America. The history of the chairman of the Japan Sumo Association reveals the importance of strong leadership in persevering and advancing the sport of sumo through various crises. For me, I am still waiting on more reforms about foreigners joining the sport and making live sumo more accessible to foreign fans at an affordable price. Furthermore, just as Akebono became the first foreign-born yokozuna, I await the first foreign-born chairman. Maybe in yokozuna Haku. Is that going to be just a dream? Let's see. Tsugiwa sumo de nihongo manabu. Next we have learn Japanese with sumo.
Kinbozan カザフスタン出身木瀬部屋大野勝モンゴル出身大野松部屋
Today's focus is on the Japanese word shushin. Shushin can be translated from Japanese to mean birthplace or origin in English. We had Kinboza, Kazakhstan Shushin Kise Beya, Onokatsu, Mongol Shushin Onomatsu Beya. Kazakhstan Shushin, it means someone from Kazakhstan. Mongol Shushin means someone from Mongolia. So the announcer was saying Kinbozan, a person from Kazakhstan and also from the Kise Beya. And the most common way is to add jin at the end of the country. So for example, we have America Shushin. It means someone from America or an American, or you can also say America Jin. You can also say Nihon Jin, which means a Japanese, or Nihon Shushin. You can also say France Shushin. Someone from France, or France Jin means someone from France. Shushin can be used for the town you come from. For example, we have Tokyo Shushin. It means I come from Tokyo. Or Paris Shushin. It means I come from Paris. You can also say Tokyo Jin, but it is more natural to say Tokyo Shushin and use the jin for countries instead. Minasan, doko no shushin desu ka? Everyone, where are you from? Please let me know in the comments section.
Kinbozan カザフスタン出身木瀬部屋大野勝モンゴル出身大野松部屋
Thank you all for watching this video on the interesting history of the sumo chairman. We have explored the challenges and the reforms that have shaped sumo over the years. But now I want to hear from you. What do you think are the next big reforms sumo should consider to stay relevant in the modern world? And here is a thought. Do you think we could ever see a foreigner take the helms as a chairman in the future? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. And also let me know, doko no shoshin desu ka? Where are you from? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already done that. Don't forget to check out other videos on this channel. We've got a lot more exciting contents coming your way. Thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. Arigatou gozaimasu.